A lot of parenting in most homes is actually management through authority, pressure, and control. And there's an important difference between being a boss at home and being a leader of your home. A boss parent focuses mainly on compliance, a leader parent focuses on influence. At first glance, both may appear similar. Both may set rules, both may correct behavior, both may say no, but emotionally, they create very different environments for the child. Boss parenting usually operates from a state of urgency. The focus is stopping the undesirable behavior quickly, gaining immediate obedience, and restoring order as fast as possible. And the common statements you would hear in such a home are, because I said so, stop crying, do it right now, I don't want to hear another word, how many times should I repeat myself? And to be fair, sometimes this approach does work. The child listens, the bad behavior stops, the room becomes quiet. But quietness and regulation are not the same thing. A child can become silent externally while feeling overwhelmed internally. Children are not only learning from what we teach them directly, they are constantly forming internal models about relationships, authority, emotional safety, conflict, and connection. So, when correction happens repeatedly through fear, pressure, unpredictability, or emotional intensity, the child adapts to that emotional environment. In most cases, the child may become highly compliant, but also anxious, hypervigilant, or emotionally shut down or extremely reactive in other environments, which means behavior alone is not a reliable indicator of emotional health. A leader parent understands something deeper, that influence is more powerful than force. Not because children should never experience discomfort, but because long term emotional regulation develops better in environments that feel emotionally safe and predictable. I think emotional safety is often misunderstood in modern parenting conversations. When we talk about emotional safety or being a mindful or a gentle parent, it does not mean that the child gets whatever they want or the parent never says no. It does not mean that there are no consequences or that the home lacks structure. In fact, children feel safer when boundaries are clear and consistent. What creates insecurity is unpredictability, not knowing which version of the parent they will get to see today, whether a small mistake will trigger a large emotional reaction or whether correction will come calmly or explosively. Children adapt themselves around these patterns. This is where we have to separate control from leadership. Control is primarily focused on behavior in the moment. Leadership is focused on shaping the emotional system over time. A control focused parent asks, how do I stop this behavior immediately? A leadership focused parent asks, what emotional patterns are being repeated in this relationship? That is a very different lens. A leader parent still holds boundaries, but the boundary is held through calm authority rather than emotional escalation. Calm authority means the parent stays emotionally steady, the voice remains grounded, the boundary remains clear, and the child's emotional state does not completely destabilize the parent. The message the child receives in this state is that my emotions are manageable, the environment is stable, the adult can handle difficult moments safely, and that creates emotional stability for the child. Fear based parenting often leads to quick compliance because the child's nervous system shifts into a stress response. In that state, the brain prioritizes safety and avoids conflict. So, yes, the child may listen immediately, but immediate obedience is not always evidence of emotional regulation. Sometimes it is evidence of stress activation, and many adults carry that emotional memory to a much later stage of their life. A lot of adults still today remember the fear of disappointing a parent or the tension in the house growing up. They still remember walking carefully around someone's mood or trying not to trigger reactions, even when they were considered good children. That tells us something important, that children do not only remember rules, They remember the emotional environment. Leadership in parenting is not just about becoming soft or giving up authority. It is about becoming regulated enough that you do not need intimidation to create order. Because sustainable influence does not come from fear, it comes from emotional stability, consistency, and trust. So instead of asking, how do I make my child listen to me? The deeper question is, what kind of emotional environment is my leadership creating over time? A boss parent may control the room temporarily, but a leader parent shapes the emotional environment long after the moment has passed. And children may forget many instructions we gave them, but they rarely forget how our presence made them feel. For more such videos on parenting, do consider subscribing to this channel. Thank you for being here.